You are listening to the Vocal Advancement Podcast, and I am one of your hosts, Tom, joined by Heather today.
Sabona.
Oh, that's very pretty. Where is that from?
That is Zulu from South Africa.
Oh.
Thought we'd go for a South African vibe today. Why not?
Yes, I like that. It's very, very pretty language.
Yeah. I had my honeymoon in South Africa. It's a beautiful country.
Oh, nice. I can honestly say I've never been, but I do have friends from South Africa, so...
Yeah, it was a fabulous place. I'd go again. Maybe when my kids are a bit older, we did a train ride from Johannesburg down to Cape Town, and then we hired a car and we drove the garden route down the bottom of South Africa all the way to the other side where we did a safari. It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, it was an amazing
Well, that sounds lovely.
It was. It was an expensive one. The train was ridiculously expensive. It was one of those kind of Orient Express type trains where you sleep on it and they do dinner. You have to wear your jacket for dinner. It was posh, and all the booze was included. So we got so drunk.
Oh,
it was brilliant.
Nice. You know, I actually have an Orient Express pen. My mum and my grandma went on Orient Express many years ago, and it's a little conductor, and you take his hat off, and the pen is underneath the hat.
Aww, that's cute.
Keep it safe somewhere.
Love that.
Yeah. So I hear you've been sitting doing nothing for the last couple of weeks, just lazing about.
Yeah, it's exactly what I've been doing. Absolutely nothing at all. No, I have officially finished my masters. I am so happy, Tom. It is
freedom.
Done. I have freedom. Exactly. That's exactly it. That's the feeling of you submit your dissertation, then I had to present my research, and I did my presentation yesterday, and I just feel brilliant now. It is done. I don't need to edit anything else. I can't add any more. I can't do anything else to it. It's done now. I just have to sit back and wait to find out how well I did, and hopefully I did okay.
I'm sure you will. From what we talked about in the podcast, it seemed like you know your stuff.
Oh, I did, inside and out. Yeah. I say, just slightly obsessed with the topic for the past 8 months, but it is done now, and I now can return to my ordinary life and get on top of my washing and ironing pile again. All those fun things.
And that to-do list that builds
that
up.
huge to-do list. I can't tell you how long the to-do list is. I'm like, all right, I'll do that once I've finished my masters. I'll start that. When I've finished my masters, I'll do that, and the list just gets longer and longer and longer. But I will begin to do that once I kind of just deflate from.
Yeah, you need to decompress a little bit and chill, have lots of wine, and
that's it.
Not think about gestures.
I did open the champagne yesterday. I was like, right, that's it. I need a glass of champagne.
Quite right.
And a box of Maltesers. Right. That was my celebration to myself.
I'm hungry.
Glass of champagne, a box of Maltesers. I treat myself.
I was having a rough day the other day, and I was ready to drive to Tesco at 9 o'clock at night to buy a packet of chocolate digestives because I just was like, I've had enough. I want a biscuit. But a box of Maltesers, that's nice. I have to get some of them tomorrow.
Yeah. I just thought, I like a Malteser. I don't know whether they have them in America. You Americans listening, do you know what we're talking about? Are Maltesers a thing over there, or is this just a British thing?
There'll probably be something similar, I would imagine.
They're malt balls. We probably call them malt balls or something.
Well, they do have malt balls, because I have had them.
Have you? Oh, okay. Well, there you go. But they're yummy.
I do like them, and it's a good time. It's a good time of year because all the Christmas sweeties are out. In
well,
the shops
exactly.
now,
I saw them. I'm like,
big boxes.
I'm going to buy that, and I'm going to eat them once I've finished my masters. That's my treat to myself.
Love it. Quite right.
So here we go.
Yeah. And so, when do you find out your results? How long are they going to make you sit and wait?
Too long. I think it's beginning of December or something when I get. And I don't even know, because I'll get the results for this module, but I don't know whether they'll also publish the results for the masters overall, because obviously this module is just the largest module, but I've had other things that I've done over the past 3.5 years as well, so it all kind of gets added together. But I don't get to go to graduation until the summer of next year, because I'll still.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I've got
That's
to
like-
wait a bit of a while before I can get me a gown and cap on.
What's the cap called? I can never remember.
I don't know.
I want to say a gavel, but it's not a gavel.
I don't know, because the thing is that I was a dirty dropout. I never finished my actual undergraduate degree. I dropped out. And I only got accepted onto the master's based on, kind of experience in the field of actually doing what I'm doing. So no, I've never graduated before. We don't have graduations in this country for like high school like they do in America. So I've never done the whole cap and gown. So I'm quite looking forward to that. Do you think they'll have a purple one for me?
Oh, I don't know. I've never graduated either. I dropped out my degree.
Oh, look at us.
So I've never done
dirty
it.
dropouts, the love us.
I know. But so successful in business and life.
That's what I say. Went to the University of Life, that's it.
Yes, I did. I had a PhD.
Oh my word.
Pretty hard day.
That's it.
Wow. I'm going to get that on a t-shirt. That's quite funny. That's amused me.
Oh my word. So, who are we interviewing in today's episode of the podcast, Tom?
Well, actually, we're interviewing one of IVA's own co-founders, the lovely Stephanie Borm-Krüger, who is from Munich in Germany. And we thought Stephanie would be really good to get all the showbiz gossip about what it's like to work on The Voice in Germany, because she worked there a few years back on a couple of seasons as one of the main on-camera coaches. So we picked her brain and asked for all the juicy details, and she was so professional. She didn't tell them on camera. She waited till she was off camera and then spilled all the dirt. So I'm so sorry you won't get to hear that.
It's true. We may have had to edit a couple of bits out of the interview afterwards. She was like, maybe don't include that. I might get into trouble if I say that.
I know. She was very professional. Very professional.
I was going to say, but if you buy me and Tom enough glasses of wine when you meet us in person, we might let a couple of things slip.
Oh, yes. Yes.
But don't worry, we've left it enough of the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Absolutely.
Shall we go and talk to Stephanie then?
I think we shall.
Let's do it.
So Stephanie, thank you for joining us on our podcast today. We are really looking forward to getting to know you a bit better and to grill you on what it's like to be working in the industry. But let's start nice and easy with telling us a bit about how you got started in the world of voice teaching.
Oh my goodness, that was a long time ago. Actually, I've been, I'm feeling getting kind of old here. So I started teaching almost 25 years ago. And how did I get started? I was a singer. I started singing fairly late in my life. I felt like I was in my early 20s and started taking voice lessons out of a life crisis, and that's how sometimes good things happen out of the crises, right? So I started taking voice lessons. I was on fire, from the first voice lesson on. I felt like, wow, this is what I need to do. I have to train my voice. And I joined a band. I sang in a rock band, and I had no technique whatsoever. Meaning, I enjoyed singing, I was on stage, I loved being on stage, but after 1.5 years of performing, my voice was pretty done, right? I was hoarse all the time between practice, between performances. My voice did not fully recover, and I felt like my voice was raspy, I was hoarse. And so I went to the doctor after a big performance where I felt like couldn't recover at all. And they told me that I have to stop singing because my voice is broken, right? And at that time I was studying at university and to actually become a school teacher. And they said, well, if you keep singing, then you cannot work as a voice teacher because your voice will not be strong enough to carry a full day of teaching in class. And so I went home from that doctor's visit and cried for 2 days. Then, yes, it was so sad. I mean, it was bad news to tell me to not sing anymore. And then after 2 days, I'm not good at crying for very long because I need like a positive perspective. After 2 days, I decided to become a singer. And then I went through like speech therapy. I looked for speech therapists that actually knew how to deal with singers, because what I didn't know then, that like you need to be specified in working with singers, right? And so I tried many voice teachers. Nobody could help me. I was a very, very hard case, I guess. And yes, but that's good. In the end, that's good, because it was so hard to fix my voice. And now I know how to fix hard voices. That's kind of what it feels like to me. So long story short, I came across a gentleman from California who taught me a voice lesson. And I'm like, wow, that's what's actually working for me. And after practicing with like that little cassette tape, back then we had cassette tape recordings that I practiced with, I felt like, wow, this is actually giving me something to work with, a technique. And so again, long story short, shortly after I noticed how much that helped me, I knew that's what I want to learn, not only for myself, but actually I want to learn how to teach this, because I've always loved teaching, and the school teaching was great. But to actually combine my love for music, my love for singing, with the solution for my own voice, with the teaching, that to me, that seemed like heaven. Right? And it seemed very complicated because I was in Germany back then, and those teachers were in the United States. And so I turned the world around and moved to the United States to get my education there. I wanted to stay for a year. And long story short, again, I stayed for almost 10 years. So that's how I got started. And it's, that I feel like that initial fire that I felt when I was teaching my very first voice lesson, which was so nerve-wracking, because I'm like, I have no idea how to do this, but I need to try it because it just feels so right. That initial fire honestly has never stopped for me. And that initial excitement with the curiosity is 25 years later, I have to say it's still there, because it never gets boring. And I've come across so many beautiful people and amazing music and situations where 25 years ago I only dreamed about, And I just feel blessed. And now I'm here with you guys and I can share all this. So it's really cool.
It's one of the nice things, isn't it, about doing something that you absolutely love? You hear people that hate their job and struggle to get up in the morning, but when you truly love what you do, like every day, it's a blessing, isn't it?
It is a huge blessing. Yeah, my life could not be better. Seriously, it's the best. But you guys know.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know. So at what stage then did you start to because you came back to Germany, yeah? And so then you started to teach in a private studio there and things like that. But at what stage did you start to move more into working in kind of like the mainstream industry, like the TV and stuff like that? How did that come about?
I actually already started that while I was still living in the United States.
Oh, okay.
Because what I did, of course, I kept coming to Germany, visiting my family when I was on a break. And so at a certain point in time, I was like, I feel like I'm already moving forward very nicely in the States, but in Germany, nobody knows about this amazing technique that we're doing. And so I'm like, okay, I have to change that. I'm on a mission. So I'm like, okay, I'm serious about this mission, and I'm going to just offer a vocal workshop. So I was just sending out information to people that I know, and I'm like, hey, in 2 weeks, I only had 2 weeks to get the word out, because then I had to go back to the States again. I emailed everybody I knew who was interested in music, interested in singing, all the contacts that I had from before I moved. And I said, hey, I'm doing this workshop. why don't you just come along if you're interested, right? And so I had not only one full day of workshops, but I got so many inquiries. I had 2 full days.
Wow.
And then after both workshops, I feel like I'm bragging, but that's okay. It's just such a cool story. And after both workshops, people were standing in line to book me for private lessons.
Wow.
Right? And so I'm like, something is right here. Right? And so every time from then on, whenever I went to Germany, even prior to that, like with a little bit more time to prepare, I did a workshop in Munich, in my hometown. And after doing that twice, I'm like, Munich is not enough. So the next time I did Munich and Berlin. And then the next time I did Munich, Berlin, and Hamburg. And then I did Munich, Berlin, Hamburg, and Cologne. So I did like workshop tours.
Taking over the whole country.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
Yeah.
People were so excited to hear and to experience this technique, right? And so how did I actually get into the industry? The main breakthrough happened when I got to work with I worked with all kinds of musicians, right? But I got to work with this guitar player in Hamburg who was this really cool dude, like, really dynamic. And we became friends and we stayed in touch. And whenever I was there, he took lessons or we talked on the phone about what's going on. And this one time I talked to him on the phone and he's like, hey, you know what? I'm just in the studio with this singer. And I'm like, and this singer is like, she's one of the biggest stars in Germany, right? Wow. She's an icon for decades, right? And he's like, so I'm at the studio with her. She's just recording her new album. And I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't even know that you were working with her. He's like, yeah. And, I really think she should work with you. I feel like you would be the one to help her. And I'm like, okay.
Yes, please.
Please. Oh, okay. If you. And I'm like, okay, sure. I'm ready whenever you want me to be ready. Of course, I was in the States. But then next time I came to Germany again, we talked on the phone and I'm like, hey, if you still want me to work with her, I'm ready. And so he set that up and it was a beautiful, great session. I went to her house, started working with her. We worked on all the songs of her new album. We kept working online. Back then, when was that? Like 15 years ago or so, right? So back then, it was kind of unusual to do this online lesson thing. But I'm like, hey, if I want to do this, if I want to like stay within that community of teaching, I have to offer a regular training method for her. And so we worked like 3 to 4 to 5 times a week online, right? Wow. I got up at 5:30 in the morning, California time, to work with it. Yeah, because that's what it was for, like, with the time difference. And so we became on a professional level very close. I mean, if we work with someone so closely, there's like a somewhat of a professional friendship that developed. And so she also came to California to come visit, and we worked very closely, and I helped her with the touring. And then when it got closer to, and also got me in touch with some other nice, successful people. And then when it actually got closer to moving to Germany, when that was already planned out, she called me one day and she's like, you know what? I got asked to be one of the celebrity coaches on The Voice of Germany. And that was actually when The Voice started here in Germany. It was the very first season. And she's like, but I want to bring my team. Are you ready to be on the team with me? And I'm like, hell yeah. And I've been dreaming about that for years, I'm like, I want to be on a TV show coaching singers at some point. So I'm like, okay, here we go.
This is it.
I'm ready. What was a little bit complicated was that we moved back to Germany, and I, like, just shortly after, I gave birth to my firstborn, right? And the recording for the Voice of Germany started like right then, right? So I'm like, okay, that's gonna be interesting. And so what we did is my husband supported me, and we actually, the whole recording was in Berlin, and we took the baby. He was 3 months old then. And we stayed in Berlin for almost 6 weeks for that whole recording stuff. And I spent the days at the studio doing my job, not sleeping during the night because Heather, you know what I'm talking about. But it was just such a beautiful, fun experience. And, not only that, to be in a situation like that, which is very different than teaching private lessons, out of meeting people and also getting great results with those singers, because I could work fast, right? I could get fast results with that technique that we're teaching. I got so many new contacts that out of that, there were so many more opportunities for different TV shows, working with huge artists here in Germany. And, it's like once you have your foot in there and you're good with people, one thing leads to the next. And but the initial question was, how did I get into it? And that's how I got into it.
That's great. So what did the job involve exactly? Like, how much contact time did you have with the singers? Like, you said you had to work quite quickly, but how quickly? Like, do you get like 10 minutes? Do you get an hour a day? What sort of time did you work with them?
Yeah, and that is actually a brilliant question, because when in the first phase of that show, there is quite a big number of singers that you got to work with. So meaning, and you got to work with them every single day. However, they have so many other tasks that they need to follow. They got to go to the makeup artist. They got to do interviews. They got to do video shootings. They have rehearsals, dress rehearsals. They got to do styling. Their days are packed with a million things that don't have to do anything with a voice, right? And so in the beginning, honestly, when I had that big number of voices that I had to work with before they dumped them on the show, I had to work with probably like 12 singers each day.
Wow.
However, imagine with their big schedule, those 10 minutes, Heather, that you just talked about is actually, that comes close. Because they're planned out in a very, very tight schedule. And sometimes the dressing artists, like, they take longer because they're unsure if it fits or not, right? So they come to their voice coaching later, and they're called for the next interview out of that voice coaching. So from my perspective, as the professional working with the voices on the voice, the beginning stages were a little bit unsatisfying sometimes, because the singers that enter that show, some of them have previous training. They know their voice pretty well. They went to university, or they have a long experience when it comes to singing and performing. However, you also have the other singers that don't have that, right? Whose voices are beautiful and brilliant. However, their technique is not the best, or rather poor, meaning they cannot reach certain pitches. They have trouble with the high notes, or with the low notes, or the area in the middle, and you actually need more time with them. Those 10 minutes, or even if it's 20 or 25, right? That is sometimes not enough. And so this is very, very challenging. And even though that technique this technique that we're teaching works very fast, it's still when you're working with it for the first time, it can be or it is fairly new to some of these singers. So in the beginning, that was one of the biggest challenges. And as the show goes along, then of course it's less and less singers, right? Meaning you're getting a little bit more time with them. And that was my more favorite part of the whole process of the show, because sometimes when they did not have like a super packed schedule, I even got to work with them for like 45 minutes, which, whoa, seriously, is great. And then it's not only the private lesson in one-on-one time, but then as the live shows are starting, you go to the stage rehearsals with them, right? To the dress rehearsals, and you give them feedback on stage and together with those celebrity coaches. And that's then things get a little bit more, or get a little bit easier in terms of time management, actually.
Right.
But it sounds like a highly pressurized kind of environment where these singers are kind of going through, as you say, this packed schedule, and that obviously will have impacts on their voices as well from being tired and stressed, I would imagine, going through that. So do you find that some of the time it was just about keeping them healthy to get through the shows, as opposed to, like, actually, as you said, not a lot of time to work with them sometimes, so not time to build things, but just keep the voices healthy and moving through the contest?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're really nailing it. It's keeping the voices healthy, keeping them just, and also it was during winter season.
Oh.
Everybody got sick. Everybody got sick.
Yeah.
But of course, the show schedule was on. So, And yes, so keeping them healthy was a big thing. And then focusing on helping them to hit those pitches that they needed to hit in a song. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then, of course, depending on their individual singing habits in terms of bad habits, vocal abuse in the past, for those that have been pretty much on the healthy side anyway, it was way easier to help them build more stamina or strength or whatever you want to call that. And with others, it was really kind of like dragging them through their task. So that was very, very different and dependent on the singer, actually.
I suppose as well, in these kind of shows, the production will have an idea of what they want a singer to do. The celebrity will have an idea of what they want them to do. And then you as a voice coach have your, what you need them to do to be healthy and things like that. So I imagine there was perhaps scenarios where there was conflicts of what was in the best interest of the singer versus what's good for TV. Like, did you have to deal with scenarios like that?
Yes, definitely. I mean, for me personally, you guys know that vocal health and efficiency is always a priority. And since things have to go so quickly, you go on a stage rehearsal and then you get the feedback from the producer, well, here and here, we need this or that. And then you got to rush back to the private studio and you have to make sure that they're able to accomplish what they've been asked for, but in the most healthy way possible. That is a huge, huge challenge. At the same time, as we always say, you're growing with your challenges, right? For me, as being put under pressure, that was a huge growing opportunity for me, because I knew, I wanted to keep that job. I wanted to make them happy with what I'm doing there, right? And so that is a huge challenge where sometimes you have to get creative. Sometimes what from experience at your private lesson studio doing your scales and like having lots of time, that doesn't work in a situation like that. And then you got to get creative and even faster. And I feel like being in situations like that were part of what shaped me to get even better, So it's uncomfortable in that very moment, and it's very nerve-wracking. Very nerve-wracking, because the whole situation at that recording studio was like so professional, and everybody needs to be so cool and so on top of things and not show any weakness. It's really like that. That was kind of a struggle as well on a personal level, you know, being like so good on the outside, you know.
Because like, how much say would you have? So, for example, if a singer, you know, came into a session with you and you knew straight away this song is the wrong key for you, like, would you be able to go back and report that and go, this needs to be a step higher, a step lower? Did you have that influence, or did you just have to make it work?
Yes and no. In general, I did have that influence because every individual team had their own musical director who was reporting directly back to the production, you know. So fortunately, it was not me who had to report back to the production team. But I was in close contact with the musical director of our team all the time anyway. Right. So we were constantly giving feedback to each other. And so sometimes when he wasn't sure about like what key would be better, I would just try it out with the singer and then report back to him. Or if I felt like in the session, figuring out how it works best for the singer, there was always the opportunity to report back. So there was actually never a bad moment or something that was like not satisfying on my end. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. And then even when they do their battle rounds, I mean, did you find it that it was very much geared up for one singer to succeed over the other? Because how difficult is it to find a song that really does do both people as much justice? Like, how did you manage that sort of scenario?
You know, again, from my perspective is, even in that battle thing, right, that I provide both singers with the best way of presenting this song, because ultimately, yes, it is a game. One has to leave and one will continue. But in the end, it needs to be a great performance. Of course, it's a battle, but it's a duet as well. And we want the duet to sound good, and every singer deserves the same support, right? So from my end, I just made sure that I gave every singer exactly what they needed to sing that song well. And then in the end, yes, actually most of the time it was pretty obvious who had what it took to move forward. And you know, but I don't know, maybe we need to cut that out later then. I also had, you guys have to decide, okay? I don't want to get into trouble. So I had, since I was very close with that celebrity coach, right, I had a little bit of sneak peeks behind the scene. And I noticed how they combined the singers in those battles, which was, yes, they needed a very nice performance, but at the same time, it was also combining in a way. So in the end, they had a nice team would like continue the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's entertainment, isn't it? It's for entertainment.
It is entertainment, and in the end, even though it's so serious for the contestants, it is a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like it, you know, like, and that's what's intense to notice, that for those who participate, for the contestants, it's so much more than a game. For some of them, it feels like it's their future.
Yeah.
It's like making their dreams come true. And I mean, being there, supporting that and helping them accomplish or get as far as they wanted to get, that is just on a personal level. That's a lot of responsibility in helping somebody else or supporting someone to fulfill their dreams. It's a privilege. I think I love that.
Privilege, but pressure.
Yes. Big
in an
time.
already pressured environment.
Yes, absolutely.
But it sounds like I genuinely feel like you loved your time there, regardless of the pressure and the things that went on. But I think sometimes a lot of teachers might romanticize what it's like to work on these shows in the industry, and like there's no getting around it. It's hard work, long days, lots of pressure, jumping through hoops sometimes to make things work. So if somebody's listening to this and thinking like, well, I would love to do that, like that's my dream job, like is there any advice you could give them on how they might get started?
First of all, there's no recipe to get a job like that, right? In general, I don't know how it is in other countries, but in Germany here, you cannot really apply for a job like that. You have to, just like for me, it has to be a beautiful coincidence, and you have to know people. Networking is huge, huge. Without networking, you don't get anywhere, in my opinion. We call it vitamin B here, because, yeah. And yes, and also you always have to be your best, your kindest, and your most supporting one, no matter who you meet and no matter who you work with. I mean, hopefully that's what you do anyway. But I always encourage, don't make a difference who you work with in terms of support and professionalism, because you never know who's in front of you.
Absolutely.
It's like in the first moment when you meet someone who will be, like for me now in retrospect, very important in your career, you don't know that they will be that important in your career when you meet them for the first time, So it is really the overall attitude. You gotta be as professional as possible, as easy to work with. On a top level, you have to be easy to work with. If you're high maintenance, if you have a lot of demands, if you're in people's ears all the time, if you're asking a million questions, then you're not easy to work with. Yeah. So you need to be very self-driven, very independent, very much going forward, straight to the point, and again, easy to deal with. And then still, when you finally get into situations like that, when you're finally there, you have that job for a TV production or like for a competition or something like that. How should I voice it the best way? Yeah, being easy to work with, most important. And you have on the way, you have to build resilience. Okay? Resilience is key to have once you're getting in there. And I tell you why. It's not only the time pressure that you're under. Okay? It's not only the pressure of, I have to get results, not only in a short amount of time, but results that do work, that work for the singer and that work for the production. Plus, resilience in terms of there will be moments where you're feeling that small, right? I think that being a voice teacher, being artistic, being creative, comes with a high level of sensitivity within ourselves. I've met very few voice teachers or singers that have not had a high level of sensitivity on them on a personal level, meaning we're sensitive to how people talk to us, right? And how we're dealt with. And within that sensitivity, you have to build resilience, because you will get so frustrated at times, not only with the situation, but with yourself. You will get to, you will feel your own personal limits. We're like, today I couldn't manage to get where I wanted to get. And that is hard for me. That was hard. Sometimes I got out of seriously 12-hour sessions at the studio, being exhausted, tired, and on an emotional level, I felt like, okay, where is my therapist if I need them?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Gosh.
Just working through the individual scenery of that very day. You're in the midst of celebrities all day. And I
A
mean,
lot of ego.
ooh, yes. And I mean, on the one hand, yeah, that's what we want, right? We want to be part of the celebrity scene. Yes, but once you're in there, you will notice it does not feel the way I was assuming it would feel, It is or it can be, at least from my experience, so stressful. So, and you're not supposed to show your stress, right? You want to deliver, you want to appear the most professional possible, even if you feel like, I'm actually not sure if I belong here. Am I good enough? All that stuff. That, oh my goodness, if you ever get into that situation, be prepared that all the darkness, all the dark clouds that are in your soul, they're gonna appear and they're gonna be right in front of your eyes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
But that's important for people to know, because I think it's just as valid for a voice teacher to actually come to the conclusion that that is not the role for them. That is not an environment that they will be happy in, and therefore actually, although everyone sees it as like the pinnacle of working with celebrities must be the best job out there, actually it's okay to say to yourself, do you know what, that's not the best job for me.
It's
that's
too
for
stressful.
somebody else.
Oh, absolutely too stressful. Plus, what you said earlier, I would not call it ego because it's somewhat like negative, maybe, But those successful people, they're under stress themselves in situations like that. They're not at ease. They have the same stress, maybe probably on a different level or in a different context. But they're under stress, and the demand on them, they're in front of the camera the whole time. I just do interviews sometimes, right, in front of the camera, which are then broadcasted on social media and stuff like that. But they're on camera the whole time. Let's talk about stress, right? And so dealing with them while they're under stress and keeping it professional, keeping it fast, keeping it supportive, that is highly, highly stressful. Takes a lot of energy and whoa,
Yeah, it sounds like you need thick skin to work in the industry sometimes. And yeah, I think like what you said, Heather, I think it's important to recognize that might not be for you. We know other people that work in the industry, TV, musicals, film, stuff like that. And, they've said regularly, like, on set at 6 a.m., finish on set at 2 a.m. And then somebody wants coaching after we finish, like, an 18-hour filming day and you're like, want to go to bed. But you have to go because that's your job. You've got to go and deliver. So, yeah, it might not be for me, I don't think, perhaps. I like my creature comforts too much. But if Celine Dion's calling, I would make that exception for her.
Oh, you sure would.
I would, yes. Yeah. But I've got one more question for you then, Stephanie, because you mentioned, like they expect results and they expect things to be, magic wand stuff sometimes. So it kind of feels like it's important for teachers to know voices, know tools, have a good toolbox, and be creative. So, what did you do to help keep your kind of toolbox packed with stuff that was going to be helping you get these singers to where they needed to be?
You mean in the situation itself or in the development of that toolbox?
Yeah, the development of that toolbox. What did you do to make sure that you were able to deliver?
Well,
that's a hard question.
It's a very hard question.
Sorry.
Yes, but it's a brilliant question. I love the question. First, I made sure, or I'm still making sure, that I'm on top of my logic when it comes to tool usage and what the tools do. And I feel like, even though I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of how the voice works and how the tool work, but I feel like we're never done with that, refining things. And you know what I said earlier, being in situations where I'm under pressure to deliver fast, for me has been and keeps being one of the best situations to develop being, or to keep working on being fast with what I'm doing, no matter if that's in a TV setting like that, or if it's doing master classes, if it's doing teacher trainings, stuff like that, where those people that are watching me, they are expecting me to, to deliver. And not to deliver in 30 minutes, but to deliver on the spot. And being under pressure like that, for me, is really, really helpful to get out of my comfort zone. And I feel like that getting out of the comfort zone is a very important circumstance to provide when we talk about getting better. Because when we're inside of our comfort zone and we work with our logic and we have all the time in the world, that's very nice. But I feel like when we're doing this teaching thing for a while and things just get on a deeper level, we're getting understanding in a deeper level, it goes into our subconscious mind, it even goes into our emotional being to some extent. It gets into our physical understanding, even feeling what is going on with the singer that's in front of us. And I feel like to get access to that subconscious mind and to that deeper level, helping out with the consciousness, we have to step out of our comfort zone. Otherwise, we don't get access to that part of our instinct. Let's call it instinct. Instinct for me, is not only something that we're born with. While we're born with instinct in general, I think that instinct is shaped and influenced a lot by what we're doing and what we learn and what we experience. And I feel like we need to get out of our comfort zone in order to really have the instinct kick in. When things have to go so fast that we think, my brain doesn't serve me anymore, right? I don't know if we've been in that situation. We're like, okay, yeah, I'm getting blank here, but I still have to deliver. So kind of, okay, instinct, now come in and just do your thing. And I know this is going to sound very weird, but I've been in situations, and I don't mean this on an esoterical level, okay? I mean that very upfront on a human level. I've been in situations where I'm like, okay, here, this doesn't serve me anymore. This does not give me answers right now. So please just teach, Yeah. I'm just asking my system to do the job. And so I keep teaching, and sometimes I'm, okay, interesting what I'm doing right now, right? But I've been in situations where I had such incredible results then, allowing my instinct to kick in, of course, together with my knowledge, and then experiencing amazing situations, and actually then learning from my own doing. Afterwards, I'm like, what did I actually do here? That was brilliant, But it didn't come from here. It came from being highly under pressure and then allowing my system to just do its job when teaching. I don't know if that makes sense, or if it sounds...
It does make sense. And
crazy.
I think that's definitely something that comes from having so many years of experience and training and understanding and learning, that it's all in there already. It's not necessarily that you weren't using your brain, you just weren't consciously using it. You were allowing it to just problem solve automatically.
Yeah.
And that is where we must all get to really in our teaching.
Yeah.
You know, it's that conscious thought that slows us down. If we can get into the place where we can just kind of switch off and just go with the flow, then we know that we've done the learning.
Absolutely.
It has been learnt.
Absolutely. And, you know, I have one more thing coming to mind because of your question, Tom, the initial question of how do I keep my toolbox fresh and efficient? You know, one thing that I feel like is keeping my toolbox fresh, because you know, the teachers that are watching, they might notice that after a while we have our go-to exercises that we just love using, and we stick to those because we love them, right? But there's so much more outside of that. And for me to keep that fresh is I love observing other teachers. And of course, now being a master teacher, working with teachers a lot and doing mocks and interactives with them, I do that anyway. But also like observing my fellow master teachers. How are they doing this? How are they solving this now? That is so inspiring and actually keeps my own toolbox and playing with juggling tools, keeps things very nice and fresh. You know, and also on a different level, what I talked about earlier in terms of feeling like those being under pressure situations have really shaped me and keep shaping me. I feel like this is one benefit from, like within IVA, having our teachers test every single year, because they're nervous. Right? They have to get out of their comfort zone. And it's not only that we help them to get to a certain standard because we give them feedback, right? And help them raise their standard. It's also for them getting out of their comfort zone and having to perform on the spot, being under the same pressure that I talked about earlier, right? And actually making a step forward out of that pressure situation into more brilliance, performing under pressure. That builds diamonds. And, you know, I think that's a great thing that we're doing.
Yeah, there's definitely something about out of your comfort zone and like you say, performing under pressure where you just have to figure it out. You know, you have to find a way through it. And so it just helps to build effective teachers because, you know, you got to find a way to get this done. So yeah, I think that's great advice. Great advice. Yeah. I think it's called unconscious competence, isn't it? In the 4 levels of learning, isn't it? Unconscious competence.
That's a cool term. I have to remember that. It's a beautiful term. Yeah.
I love it.
Yes.
So Stephanie, this was lovely to chat and to get to know a bit behind the scenes and things like that. And if people want to learn a little bit more about you or find out about lessons with you, where can people find you?
Oh, they can find me on my website, stephanieborm.com, or on Facebook, on Instagram. It's all, I think, Stephanie Borm-Krüger.
Okay.
Oh, you're gonna
we'll put it in the show
me.
notes.
Oh, thank you.
We'll put them in the show notes.
For sure. Yes, I'm always out there somewhere where you can find me. And of course, on the IVA page, I'm listed on the IVA page as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Stephanie. It's been a joy to talk to you.
Thank you so much. It's been really fun with you guys. Thank you so much.
So there you have it. That was our lovely Stephanie dishing the showbiz gossip.
Oh, it is interesting to hear how these things happen because you watch it on the telly, don't you? And you kind of make assumptions. No, you don't. I've watched it on the telly.
I didn't say that to her. I've never seen The Voice.
Have you never seen The Voice? I can't say that I watch it all the time, but I certainly, in the UK, when it first came out, I did watch the first few episodes. I actually went to watch them filming one of the rounds. I took my staff because they were filming it in Manchester, which is just up the road from me, the blind auditions. So I did go to watch that when, it was will.i.am and Tom Jones and, the guy from the script. What's his name? I can't remember. He was...
Oh, yeah. I can't remember his name.
No, I can't remember his name, but he was a judge as well. So we did go and watch one of the filmings of
early
it.
season.
Yeah, it was. It was like maybe the second season. that we saw. And it was interesting watching it take place, watching what was going on. But
Yeah,
I didn't.
I suppose the skeptic in me is always like, how blind is the blind edition?
Oh, they were actually, but the audience were very much kind of prompted to respond in a particular way. So we were all told we had to be deadly silent when the person walked out onto the stage. So we weren't allowed to kind of clap them as they walked out. So how intimidating is that as a singer? You have to walk onto a stage to deathly silence.
Cameras in your face.
Exactly. And then start singing to no response. And then we were allowed to respond once they sung. And we were told that if they did a key change or hit a really big high note, then we had to go wild at that point. We were very much kind of told how to react to these auditions to make good telly.
Yeah, I mean, all the shows do that. Like Britain's Got Talent, do all that stuff.
Exactly.
As well. It's just, good telly, like you say.
Absolutely. But I've always felt with The Voice, it's just a slightly more ethical process than some of the TV talent shows, because they deliberately don't include the people with questionable abilities in those auditions. The auditions are only people who genuinely have a talent. And then they're just trying to find the cream of the crop, rather than let's put someone on who's deliberately not up to par so we can all laugh at them. Like The Voice has never done that.
Novelty,
Yeah.
It gives it a bit more credibility, like you say.
Yeah.
And I know that, in years gone past, they do that kind of sweep around voice studios in the UK where the production crew be like, hey, we're looking for singers, we're going to be in the area, are any of your students interested in coming along to audition? And they have because there's a whole process they go through before they actually make it to the on-screen blind auditions. Because I think 2 or 3 of our other teachers in IVA have also worked on The Voice in different countries around the world, and have been involved in the earlier stages of auditions. So it's a huge bag. I mean, can you imagine planning all that stuff?
I know.
Makes my brain hurt.
And trying to help students go through that process as well is a challenge. I've had students go in and do all right and get through to this is why I was asking Stephanie about the battle rounds as well, because I had a student that got through to the battle rounds on The Voice, and it was very clear that the song was picked to favour the person she was battling against and not her. So the song was not at all appropriate for what she could do. Yeah. But that probably was the right thing, because the other singer was a better singer. But it's challenging as a voice teacher to help someone through that process when it's, that it's so orchestrated in a way, and there is a little bit of a potential agenda underneath there to, first and foremost make good telly.
And I suppose it's also difficult for us because it's a song that the students shouldn't maybe be singing because it's not the best thing for their voice, but at the same point it's got to be good telly, so they've got to give it their all as much as they can. And I kind of feel for them, and as Stephanie was saying, the stress that they were under, because she gets her little tiny slot, which is just a tiny piece in the whole day of their packed schedule, and it's I don't think we appreciate. We laugh, we cry, we watch and all that, but this person is run ragged behind the scenes going through this competition, everything they have to do to just be in it.
That's it.
Must be awfully stressful on the voice
as
well, when you consider all that stress on the body, and then you got to get up and perform at your peak.
Yeah, it's not for everyone. I wouldn't want to do it.
But working on it is not for everyone as well. I think, and you kind of alluded to towards the end of the conversation that, and certainly I, as a younger teacher, aspirations, I'm going to work in TV, or I'm going to work in shows or like that. And when you find out and you start to realize what it actually is like behind the scenes, it's not quite as rose-tinted glasses as you think it is. It's not as glamorous. It's a lot of work and a lot of politeness. And, I don't agree with you, but I have to smile and take it because it's professional, not to, tell the director that he's a a-hole kind of,
Yeah, holding your tongue when it, yeah. I don't think I'd be very good at that. Maybe I would, who knows? But
I think that in itself is a skill, Stephanie, because Stephanie was quite particular about that. You had to be a particular type of person that fitted in with what the crew or the production staff were looking for.
Yeah.
And, certainly, as I said, we have other people that work quite high up in the industry. Like I've had conversations with them and they've been like, a person came into work, they were not the right person. Like they were a great teacher, but their attitude stunk. And like the crew are like, we have enough going on, we just can't deal with this person. And so they get booted out, kind of thing.
There's no room
And
for
it's not because they're a
egos.
terrible teacher.
No.
Yeah, because it's not about you, it's about the show. At the end of the day, you're just a cog in the wheel. Which that sounds really like doom and gloom, but like it's not an easy industry to work in, is it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't strike me as that it's going to be the right job for a lot of people. To be honest, I think it does take the right sort of person that can. You've got to be a team player for a start, which a lot of voice teachers, as much as we like to think we can work, but we work solo a lot of the time. So to go from being totally autonomous in your own business, doing things the way you want to do them, to then have to work in that company where you are not the main character.
Yeah,
That's a leap that could be a challenge for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, and take direction that you might not necessarily agree is the best thing for the student in front of you, because, as you said, like it's what makes good telly, and it's what furthers the agenda that the program has. And like we might be sitting there going, no, that's a terrible thing for this person to do, but you've got to make it work and put aside your personal opinion and be like, do as you're told, basically.
Absolutely.
And that can be hard work when you're working on state, like if you're on set, like 16 hours a day, dealing with that's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
A lot of stress on you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's fascinating.
So it's not quite as glamorous.
But fascinating to know what's going on and what is expected of you, because I'm sure there will be some teachers out there that are like, that would be my ideal job.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I love, like, I think I've said this in previous episodes, like, I just love being nosy, seeing what goes on behind the scenes, like backstage at the shows and stuff like that. It's such a different world, like, than you think. Like, and maybe it's just me, but I have this, like, picture in my head of what it would be like to be backstage and stuff, and then you go backstage and you're like, oh my God.
Is this it?
Like, this is horrible. Really? This is what this is like? Like they're just regular people like us scrambling around to throw stuff together at the last minute. It's not all,
Glamour.
champagne and rosy.
It's funny.
I know.
I love it.
But hey, it was really interesting though to hear more about it and see what was going on. So yeah,
Definitely.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And it was nice to have, another IVA founder to chat
Yeah,
to.
we need to get more of them on. We ought to start, rallying the troops. Let's get some more of our people in to chat to them.
And actually, it came to me as well. Like we're talking about The Voice. Like one of our IVA teachers in Australia, their student just won The Voice
That's
Australia.
Right. Yeah.
Not about a week past ago they won it. So like that's us got 2 teachers in Australia with voice champions that are taking the mantle.
Yeah.
If we have a scoreboard for like.
I was going to say, it's going to be a competition now.
Yeah,
worldwide. Who's got the most voice winners?
Australia's leading the way so far.
They are. I know. Amazing.
Impressive.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. So last episode or 2 episodes ago, we said that we were having a little bit of a get together in November, didn't we? We were having a wee singing teacher summit.
It's very exciting, and I am looking forward to this. It is such a great opportunity to open our doors to everybody who wants to learn a little bit more about teaching singing.
Yeah. And I think we have some really nice people coming to deliver presentations, and not just technique and science, but we've also got a little bit of business in there and other things that kind of help with that idea of building well-rounded voice teachers that have all the skills necessary to be success. So I'm looking forward to seeing Kerry O'Byrne and John Henney presenting, but I'm also looking forward to the social media presentation that we're doing and the other presentations that are going to be there.
Yeah.
And we mentioned last time as well that we were open to research submissions for people to come along and submit like the latest things that they're working on and talking about. So I personally can't wait for that, particularly after, we had Tessa and Helen on talking about their research. Like it really gave me a bit of a taste for it. So I'm quite excited about those sessions.
Absolutely. I think there's lots of new there's so much new research happening in the world of voice and singing. I mean, when you compare it to when I first started teaching, there was hardly anything going on anywhere in terms of research. And now it is growing and growing and growing, and more information is coming out, more research. I love finding out about, new stuff that's coming out, new ideas, discussing new suggestions of ways to go about teaching, ways to talk to your students, ways to, kind of honor traditions in certain types of music. Some really great ideas. So I'm really excited to see the array of research presentations that we have at that summit.
Yeah, it's exciting.
So now,
and it's
remind me, Tom, how much are we charging people to attend this summit?
Well, actually, we had quite a lot of champagne when we set the pricing, and we decided to give that away for free. We must have had an awful lot of wine that day.
What were we thinking?
I know.
So, hang
Too
on.
much
You
wine.
were telling me that teachers can get access to information and education delivered by Kerry Obert, John Henney,
Yep.
me.
Yes.
I'm putting myself in that group now.
Right. I'll allow it.
And a whole host of our other phenomenal IVA teacher instructors, and they can have that for free.
They can, yeah. They can come along and absorb it all, and it won't cost them a single dime. We're so generous.
I mean,
we're so nice.
Merry Christmas, everyone, is all I'm going to say.
Indeed. Yeah. Christmas came early.
They would be absolute fools not to take advantage of that then.
Absolutely. Like even just going to a single class with one of these instructors might cost you a couple of $100,
Absolutely.
And you're getting multiple classes for nothing.
This is
So lots of high quality training and education available.
amazing. So how do they do it? How do they get access? How do they make sure they can attend?
Yeah, so they need to get to the show notes of the podcast, and they need to find the link that will allow them to register. And if you can't find the show notes, if you go to the vocaladvancement.com website and look for the blog post about it, you'll be able to register using the form there. And it's all free. All you need is your name and your email address.
Brilliant. Sign me up. I'm already there.
Well,
aren't
you
I?
are already going to be there. I hope you're not abandoning me to host it on my own.
If I weren't already there teaching at it, I would be there learning from. In fact, I will be. I'll be in all the other classes going, ooh,
Yeah, I will be
tell
too.
me more.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be so exciting, and I can't wait to meet lots of different people from outside in the vocal world that we've never met before, and get to know people and just see what's going on out there. It's going to be very exciting.
So nice to just kind of open the doors and go, do you know what? We are an open book. Come and learn. Come and gather stuff. Come and ask questions. And, I think sometimes organizations like ours can get a bit of a reputation for being a bit of a closed door organization where it's kind of like, unless you're with us, you don't know anything. And I think it's really important that we don't do that to our wonderful organization, because it is just a case of what we're doing is try to gather information and help people have access to it. And this is a really important thing that we're doing, and just sharing knowledge so that everyone out there who wants to benefit from it can benefit from it. It's really exciting.
Absolutely. I don't think I could say it any better. I think it's such a wonderful thing to do, to be open to new things.
It's brilliant.
And not closed off to other ideas or other concepts, because I think we can all learn something from everybody.
Yeah.
And even in other ways, it might stimulate debate or discussion around other topics, and it might connect people that may never have met before.
Absolutely.
And they might strike off and debate and, go and do research about stuff together and things like that. So who knows, like all the connections and possibilities that will come from, an online summit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I should say that as well. It's an online summit, so you don't have to come in person. Everything is online, so you can do it from the comfort of your own home.
You sit in your pants and just,
With your bottled wine and a box of Maltesers and learn
Exactly.
about vocal science.
That's it.
Or social media.
It's brilliant.
Or gestures or all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Fab.
I'm really
So, yeah,
excited. It's going
I'm
to be
excited too.
fantastic.
Yeah, and hoping it's going to become an annual thing. Every year we'll be introducing the summit.
Woohoo!
I know. Who knows? Maybe it'll become an in-person thing eventually if it grows.
Oh my
you know.
word.
That would be great.
That would be exciting.
2 days in Hawaii. Barbados. Or just Tom want to go on holiday that year.
I love it. Sign me up.
I know. Yeah, so that's in the show notes and it's on our website. So find that and then sign up and come and say hello to us. Can't wait to meet you all.
Brilliant. And don't forget, if you want to make sure that you don't miss the next episode of the Vocal Advancement Podcast, you need to do something that Tom's going to tell you about now, because I don't do this bit.
Yeah, you got to follow us. You know, you got to go where you get your podcast and you got to hit that follow button so that you get notified when other episodes come out. And, you know, you can also watch this on YouTube. Like, we do film this. And every time we film, I do tidy the background behind me so that it looks lovely and tidy, which means if you look to the left of my camera, there's a massive pile of crap. It's shoved out the way. So if you want to come and see my lovely tidy space, come onto YouTube.
I love it. Let's do it.
It's like something out of a comedy film, like the wardrobe is like bursting at the
All
seams. It's
over
going to
there.
explode the minute the camera goes off.
Brilliant.
I live in a tidy house, promise. Do you believe that?
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us today. It's been lovely talking with you all.
I know.
And we will...
We're coming dab hands at this.
We
now,
are, I
aren't
know. We're so good at this, honestly. We're not at all blacking our way through it at all. No, it's all
At least the
good.
technology works now. We've got that kind of
Just
nailed,
about.
you know.
Just about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
we'll see you next episode, gang.
Yeah, take
See you
care.
later.
Bye.